I guess I can't wear green in Brazil. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline,
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the June 7th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. Okay, I wanted it to be true. I really did, because I don't want the NFL playing in Brazil. In fact, I don't want the NFL playing overseas anywhere, to tell you the truth. They got all the dough, invest it, establish a branch or a division in these other regions of the world. But I think it's just too much to make these players fly. I just do, across the pond and these distances, and then expect them to play. And then, you know, Josh Jacobs was the one that brought it up, that the players weren't allowed to wear green because of gang-related gang violence in Brazil, I believe in Sao Paulo, and that it would be a dangerous place for them to go, and they'd need armed security to go everywhere. And so I was hoping so much for it to be true. And of course, it wasn't true. And but they're going to Brazil. I still think it's not a cool thing for the NFL to do to these players. I understand the hunger. I mean, we got a fan that watches this show in Denmark, but I understand the need that those folks want to see the games, but they got to figure out something better. I don't know. You know, I just don't know, because it's tough. It's tough for these teams. I'm so glad the Rams are not playing overseas again this year, although there is talk about them going to Australia in the very near future. Okay, guys, thank you guys for clicking on. And this is the Friday show, and we'll get right to it here, and I'll get to the questions and stuff right in the midway point. So keep loading up that box. Love talking to you guys. It's the best part of the show. Ram stuff, you know, one of the things that keeps getting thrown in my face, like I'm supposed to be upset, right? Kevin Dotson's outside of the top 10. You know, Ernest Jones getting disrespected. I don't care where Rams players are ranked by PFF, right? It's not that big of a deal. That's why I use it. I like it when that happens, because I use it as an example of how you should never go with somebody's opinion over yours. And I'll say this just because they're in the media, without careful observation. A lot of these folks are aspiring to something else. They want to go to another level, and they just throw things out there. And so, you know, don't take away what your eyes have seen. Don't doubt what you've seen. You know, Kevin Dotson is likely a top 10 talent. You know, Ernest Jones, right, in terms of what he is. And it's just stuff either it's clickbait or it's just poor analysis. And we see that all the time. Did you ever hear Booger McFarland as a color commentator? Now, the guy played in the NFL. He's got the disjointed fingers. He's earned it. He can say what he wants. But there were things that Booger McFarland said that were like, huh, what? Are we watching the same game? That's why he's back in studio, right? So I just think if you've invested, trust what you see. Now, of course, when someone straightens you out or someone provides you good information that, okay, I need to alter my opinion, then you do it. But sometimes this stuff here, it's just designed to get a rile out of us. I saw it reported on Twitter today, or X or Twix, that Kyren Williams is back and working out, and there was a little video of him there. That's good. You know, that's awesome. He's back. He's working out. And the Rams got depth, right? The Rams have depth. And so this is a good deal for the Rams all the way around, from Kyren Williams to Blake Corum to Boston Scott to Ronnie Rivers, even Zach Evans, right? Even Zach Evans. So that was good. You're hearing a lot about Jared Verse. They're saying Verse and Braden Fisk, but mostly Jared Verse. and they're always seem to be finding ways to talk about him. Right? He's a high energy guy. He's asking questions. He's all over the field to talk about him wanting to return kicks and all those things. And and I know what people some others are saying. Don't get so up. Let's see how he is at game time. And it doesn't mean he's going to be a superstar or even Leonard Floyd, right? But if he wasn't impressing people with what he's doing now, they wouldn't be talking about him. If he was a struggling in any way, I think the Rams would be silent and they would be deflecting conversation about him. I don't think Chase Blackburn would be bringing up, oh yeah, he wants to return kicks. They would try to take the spotlight off of him and talk about the team as a whole, as opposed to just Jared Verse. So I think it's a really good sign that people are finding ways to talk about him, and that really is a good insight to seeing where the Rams did their homework on this guy. Right, the Rams did their homework, and he's going to fit right in with Ram culture. So good stuff there. Around the NFL and other places, we'll get to some NFL here, but in other places, Dan Hurley, the Yukon HC, talking to the Lakers. This is a move that says the Lakers may be ready to move off LeBron, right? The Lakers, if they make this move and empower Hurley, I'm ready to make a commitment. I'm ready to come back, right? Of course, I haven't been really a Laker fan for 25 years. It used to be diehard. But if they do this, I'll come back, right? But they got to move on from LeBron. They have to. I don't care if they only win 15 games next year. I'll be all in. The power has to be returned to the head coach. Has to be. Not to the superstar. Let James walk, get him off the books, move Anthony Davis, bite the bullet, and rebuild. If not, expect 2 more years of, hey, are the Lakers going to make the play-in? And then they're going to get bounced before going to the NBA Finals, right? Why keep repeating that over and over again? Create something new, right? And if you hire a JJ Redick, I'd be willing, and I don't bet, I'd be willing to put money on that by 2025 and 2026, that they're looking for another new head coach. Commit to Hurley. Just get out of his way. Let him come in and let him build a team. Just let him build a team, right? Otherwise, you're not going anywhere. It's embarrassing after a while, right? Do you think LeBron's going to give you 70 games again? You're going to get 60 games out of LeBron and AD. You're going to finish 9th in the Western Conference. You're going to have to play the play-in, and then you're going to play Denver, or you're going to play Minnesota. You're going to play one of these younger teams with legs, and you're going to be outmatched. And you're going to say, hey, what's wrong with the Lakers? Maybe we need a new head coach. Oh, I'd love to see Dan Hurley come to the Lakers. I think that would really draw me in. Speaking of basketball, the Doris Burke thing made a big deal about she was the first woman on the call for an NBA game. I thought when I saw that click, I thought they were going to say she was doing play-by-play, which is absolutely no, right? Can't stand play-by-play. She's tolerable as a color commentator. That doesn't bother me. That didn't bother me much. But they made it like it was this big deal. It's like Armstrong landing on the moon, all right? It's just not that big of a deal. It should have happened earlier. There is so much smooching there at the KBM and with ESPN. It just grossed me out. As a color commentator, fine. I just do not want to hear a woman do play-by-play. There we go. Cancel me. I thought Dallas had a shot last night when they cut the lead to 8. I was getting really excited and about the anticipation of the fallout if the Celtics blew that game. You know what it reminded me of? Memorial Day Massacre, when they crushed the Lakers. I think it was in the 84-85 finals, where they could not miss in the first game. It was Memorial Day Massacre. What was it, 148, 114? And it's because they blew out Dallas last night doesn't mean they're going to win the series, right? But maybe they will. In other places, speaking of college football, I got my first college football magazine today. I was just in the store and I got it and I just looked at it. Dillon Gabriel, he's at Oregon now. Central Florida, Oklahoma, and now he's at Oregon. He's going to be 24 this December. And Dillon Gabriel feels like he should be ready to retire before he comes to the NFL. The guy's been around so long. He's played 50 college games, started 49. And by the time he's done at Oregon, ironically, if he plays 12 games this year, all 12 that are scheduled, He'll pass Bo Nix, who appeared in 61 as appearing in the most college football games of all time. I don't see Gabriel in the NFL as much, but it's just so funny. It's just the guy just keeps bouncing around, and he's like the Norm Snead or the Steve DeBerg of college football. The guy is everywhere, let alone some of the other moves that have happened. And we'll start talking a little bit about college football. In the NFL, Sterling Shepard, former Giants wide receiver, signs at Tampa Bay. McCole Hardman re-signs with KC. So there you go. I'm wondering again, another receiver in the fold there for KC. Are they looking at life potentially without Rashee Rice? What I'm thinking what they should do is they might not have much long to go with Rashee Rice, but they also should keep their eyes open on another receiver, because if Xavier Worthy is the guy that's making it rain right after signing his contract, he might not be a guy that sticks around too long. PJ Walker, perennial third-string quarterback, signs with the Seahawks. And then you get to the dudes that are never going to play for the Rams. Xavier Howard, the former Dolphin corner, who some people thought, hey, man, that might not be a bad idea about the Rams. That was before Trey White. And I'm not going to argue it. Yeah, Xavier Howard's been a solid corner throughout his career. Is charged with texting revenge porn to a woman's son, that he sent the son porn of his mom having sex. And what bad dude, right? And right alongside of him is Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory, the former Cowboy, the one that Jerry Jones poured his heart out to, right? Suspensions, baggage, all those things. And then Randy Gregory is now suing the Broncos, right? And for discrimination and everything. And this was the guy that took the big fat contract to leave Jerry Jones when Jones thought he had him. Kind of embarrassed Jones after 2021, and then went to Denver, played miserably there, and then went to Frisco, played miserably there. And now that his future is hanging by a string in the NFL, he goes, it's time to sue the Broncos. I think finally the clock has run out on Randy Gregory. I don't think you'd ever see him play for the Rams. All right. I'm Joe Terosian as a sports writer for 21 years, and now I do RamView. I was one of the founding guys at Mid-Valley Sports. They are in the room. They cover the NFL. Mid-Valley Sports covers the Chargers. I get to talk about the Rams thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. And, of course, I write books. And between Kistler Law and RamView and writing my books, which are found on Amazon, type in Joe Terosian. I got a couple of high school football novels there. You can check them out. Received good reviews on those. They did well. And I got another football book, novel coming out called Game Day in the Ram Cave, just waiting on the cover. That's how I support myself, or allow myself to keep doing this and stay in my day job. My day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And you can find us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual. And, of course, on BurbankFaithVirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual on Facebook, and all across social media. Let's see who we got on this Friday afternoon, clicking in at about 5:15. All right, Gilbert Rios. Will you be going to training camp, my brother? My brother Ramhouse. You know what? I was there last year. I'm a little concerned because I don't have the connection down there at LMU. I'd love to go down there, and I'm going to have to do some to do some work to try to finagle my way in there, because I was really disappointed that they moved from Irvine. I understand reasons, but I hope so. I hope I get to. Richard Ramos, I'm 50 years old, and I remember listening to Laker games on the radio with my dad, the great games against the Celtics or whoever. Oh, yeah, Chick Hearn, right? Chick Hearn, the simulcast, right? And, everyone kind of got, everyone kind of took the refrigerator's closed, the lights are off, the Jello's jiggling, the butter's getting hard. I thought that just became kind of cliche. There were so many other things that Chick would do. I have this distinct memory. I think it was in 74, 75, the year the Lakers didn't make the playoffs. And I think they were like 30-52 or 32-50 or something. It was after West retired. Elmore Smith got hurt. There was just a lot of injuries that year. Then they brought in Zelmo Beatty and everything. And it was the opportunity for the Seahawks to make, not the Seahawks, the Supersonics to make the playoffs for the first time if the Rams lost in Phoenix. And not the Rams. I'm sorry, the Lakers lost in Phoenix, and I'll never forget Chick Hearn, calling the whole thing that calling the whole thing goes timeout Los Angeles, and they're dancing in the streets of Seattle, and we got this image of Slick Watts dancing in Seattle, and he just painted a great picture, and the popcorn machine, and then the way he would always say he blows the layup. Yeah, of course we love the Lakers, right? We grew up loving the Lakers. But I just don't like the NBA. It's bad basketball. It really is. But if the Lakers can get Dan Hurley, that would be something that would be really interesting. Richard Ramos, when Shooker and passed away, the voice of the Lakers, that it's hard for me to even watch a Laker game. I agree. It's hard because the basketball is bad. The basketball is just bad. And they try to tell you it's good. The players are more skilled, they're more athletic, but they're not basketball players. They're just not. Brian B, greetings from the Philippines. All right. From the Philippines, Brian B, thank you so much. What do you think about Stafford's contract talk? Thinking he's signed a front-loaded contract and needs to play through it, produce, and get paid. Well, the good news is that he's not asking necessarily for more money. He's asking for more guaranteed money. And I look at it two ways. One, he's not asking for more money. That's good. And then the other aspect of it is that if he keeps playing at a high level, that means the Rams got him maybe for 2 more years after this one, that they have him through 2026. And that kind of fits the timeline. The offensive line with Dotson and Jonah Jackson. And I'm thinking of Avila. What do we got? 23, 24, 25, 26. Until he has to be re-signed, that keeps the Rams window open until 26. I don't think he's asking to break the bank. And also, if we're really going to get crazy about it, the crazy is someone like Dak Prescott and half the league, Tua, and some of these other quarterbacks making more money than Matthew Stafford. Again, I think I said, or I mentioned it, and I'm going to give clarification here on the other side of the break, is I'm not really against a player making money. I don't care how much money they make. All I care about is the cap hit. And if you could void something out, if you could push it into bonuses, I'm good with it. And so that's kind of where I fall, Brian. I do appreciate it. And thank you for clicking on, man, all the way from the Philippines. Manuel Correa, what is up? Steve Ramirez, yeah, speaking on Dylan Gabriel, COVID-19 rules. Yeah, this will be his 6th year. It's like he's doing the Herschel Dennis experience, which used to be rare, but you get that 6th year in, man. That is just amazing. All right, I did see the Brian Baldinger video on YouTube where he talks about Verse and Fisk, and if Baldy's hot about that, excited about the Rams and Verse and Fisk, and you can see it was kind of cool. It does. It makes you excited about what the Rams have. No one wants to lose Aaron Donald, but I think coming out of losing Aaron Donald, this was the best thing that could have happened with the resources available in the draft for the Rams. And thank goodness teams, six quarterbacks drafted in the first 12 picks. What was it? 13 picks or 14 picks in before a defensive player was taken. And that just pushed all those defenders back and put them in the Rams realm. When you look at the college tape, Dallas Turner was always ranked higher usually, but I prefer Verse, a little more physical, a little more beefy. So this is exciting. Can you imagine the Rams get some dudes like Verse, Fisk, and Byron Young develops, Kobe Turner? This is really, really exciting. And when you think about Verse, Fisk, Turner, Young, and you think about these guys could be the keystones of the front seven all through what? This Super Bowl window, 24, 25, and 26. I hope it goes through 26, but I'm definitely thinking the Rams are thinking 24 and 25. But you look at the interior of the offensive line, you look at where, key players they're counting on for the future. If they hit, then that Rams window is secure for the next 3 years. It really is, as long as Stafford stays upright. There's going to be some movement at wide receiver, right? And you'll see them probably add in 2 years another running back, and then maybe that tight end. We'll see. Although Parkinson is signed for the next 3 years, and then you look at Cameron Kitchens. Maybe will he develop into that next safety? They'll definitely go after a corner, but this stuff speaks to the Rams' window being potentially for 3 years instead of just 1 or 2. And I spoke about this in the question section there. I shared on Wednesday. I wanted to clarify it. I don't care how much money a player makes. Knock it out of the park. I think they should get as much as they can. All I care about is the cap hit, right? And how it affects the roster going forward. And some of these quarterbacks, because of the money they're making, they need to take the Brady approach, right? Play for the long dollar, which, like they said, Brady has never been the highest paid player in the NFL, but he's the greatest quarterback who ever lived. And by and large, most of the part, he took less so his team could do more. And so I think to some extent Stafford has done that, because Stafford should be right up there with Mahomes and Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, right? And he's done more than Justin Herbert, but he should be in that realm. Players like Tua and Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, some of these other guys, none of these guys should be making more money than him. Jalen Hurts, none of these guys, none of them. That's how good Stafford is. Ask CJ Stroud what he thinks, right? Ask CJ Stroud what he thinks. Okay, we're going to look at the schedule, and we're going to look at the edge players the Rams are facing this year. But before I do that, lastly, I heard a lot of talk in between episodes that if the Rams believed in Ernest Jones, they would have signed him already. My argument is that I don't think there's a problem with the Rams believing in Ernest Jones. They just don't believe in his position, right? Since 2017, in the McSnead era, I'm going to throw some names at you. Do you guys remember Connor Barwin, Alex Ogletree, Corey Littleton, Troy Reeder, Kenny Young, Micah Kaiser, Christian Roseboom, even Bobby Wagner? All these guys were there for a brief, short time. They're inside linebackers, off-ball linebackers. And who did the Rams re-sign out of that whole group, right? Connor Barwin moved on. Alex Ogletree was dealt. Corey Littleton was allowed to leave to the Raiders. Troy Reeder just keeps ping-ponging around the league. Kenny Young, I don't think is in the league. Micah Kaiser, I don't think is in the league. Bobby Wagner went back to Seattle after 1 year, and now is with the Taxkins. And Christian Roseboom, we know what Christian Roseboom is. And with all that, since 2017, the Rams have been to the playoffs five times, 2017, 2018, 2020, 2021, 2023. Okay. And they've been to 2 Super Bowls. And so that's with those Connor Barwin, Alec Ogletree, Corey Littleton, Christian Roseboom, Micah Kaiser, Kenny Young. I won't mention Bobby Wagner because he didn't go to the playoffs when he was with the Rams. So it's the issue of them not liking Ernest Jones. I just think it's a case they just don't like his position because you don't have to pay too much for that position. My personal belief is, and I got shot down pretty hard this offseason, I'd like to see the Rams be a little more creative with Ernest Jones, right? He does bring that inside pressure, but I think he's athletic enough that you could bounce him around a little bit. I don't know if the Rams believe that because you got Byron Young and now you got Jared Verse, but it was just my thought in terms of versatility. I do. And Ernest Jones is another example of the Rams drafting somebody 3rd round and slowly developing him, right? He made some plays in the Super Bowl 56. And then Bobby Wagner, his 2nd year, and then I thought he really took off last year. I fully expect him to have a great year this year, and then somebody's going to give him a big fat contract, and the Rams are going to get a nice compensatory pick for him, right? Unless something great happens and we keep him. I'd love to see us keep him. All right, let's look at that Rams schedule real quick here, guys. I promise I'll go back to questions here in a minute. We've looked at the quarterbacks the Rams are going to face, the wide receivers, the offensive lines, the running backs. But, what really affects teams these days is who's coming off the edge. Who's coming after you from the edge? And you got the Lions, and the Lions, of course, have Aiden Hutchinson. He's their guy, and they're looking for guys to match up on the other side for him to help him out. But Hutchinson's a beast, right? Hutchinson's a beast. I think the Jaguars wish they had taken Hutchinson, and Hutchinson's done really well. You get to the Cardinals, and there's really no name that pops out, right? It's the Cardinals. I think they're going to be solid as a team this year. I think they're going to be somewhat competitive. I think they play for Graham. I think it's a new day there, but it's not this year for the Cardinals. I'd worry about them more in 2025 and 2026. 49ers, and they moved off Chase Young. They moved off Randy Gregory. And they brought in Leonard Floyd to go with Nick Bosa. Hey, Leonard Floyd's generally always healthy. They get a last ride out of him, and then Nick Bosa can stay healthy, although he kind of faded last year a little bit. The 49ers, that's always going to be formidable because they're going to get Hargrave up the middle. They got Fred Warner. They give you a lot of things to think about with Frisco, right? And so we're not going to sell them short. I think they're ready to take a tiny step back, and that's going to open the door for the Rams. But Frisco's a playoff team, and I see the Rams splitting with them. The Bears invested in Montez Sweat. He played well for them down the stretch last year. They've signed him to long term. He's their edge guy that you'd have to worry about. The Packers have Rashawn Gary, and I had my doubts about Rashawn Gary going into last year, but he played well. And Preston Smith is still there, and he can still produce a little bit. And those guys are key to that Packers defense. The nice thing is I don't have to hear them getting a sack there in Green Bay and all the cheering. They got to do it in SoFi and hear the Packer fans cheer. Raiders are coming out with Max Crosby, who is that guy's a V8 in terms of an engine, right? He just motors big time. But the other guy opposite him is another dude to think about, Malcolm Kuntz. He's really kind of come from nowhere, but he's solid. He probably prospers from Max Crosby being on the other side. But I wouldn't underestimate that Raiders pass rush, especially now with Antonio Pierce calling the shots for a full year. The Vikings, they made their move. They did all their changes here, and now they got Dallas Turner. And I'd rather have Jared Verse, but they got Dallas Turner. And what I've read, and I'll take correction from anybody out there because this is just popping into my head now. I didn't do my homework on this one, but Turner is more get to the quarterback specialist, where with Verse, you got a guy that can get to the quarterback, bull rush, and hold the edge. And Turner's forte is going to be getting to the quarterback. And so I kind of like our guy better. I do. The Seahawks right now, it's Boya Mafe. Really, you wonder sometimes what the Seahawks are doing. We'll see with Mike McDonald, new scheme, new head coach there, but nothing there to fear. The Miami Dolphins, they're coming to SoFi, and they're bringing Bradley Chubb, who got injured late last year, and then they're bringing in former Buccaneer Shaq Barrett. Now, Shaq Barrett had that huge 20-sack season in 2019. Remember that season? It was huge. And everyone was in love with him. He got a contract. But do you know in the last 4 seasons, he's only had 27 sacks combined? And I thought it was an anomaly then. It proved out to be so. He's had some family hardship. So we're not dumping on Barrett. And Barrett is really a guy that turned himself into an NFL player, a great NFL player. But yeah, after that 20-sack season in 2019, that really was an anomaly. 27 sacks in the last 4 seasons combined. That's how he got out of Tampa Bay and is now a piece there in Miami. Let's see. Patriots, Matthew Judon, we know. He was injured all last year. I think he played 100 snaps. And then you get to the Eagles, and the Eagles had some struggle. They drafted Nolan Smith? Not Nolan Smith. What's his name? The kid from Georgia. Is it Nolan Smith? Whatever it was. He didn't do much last year. And you still got Brandon Graham. Fletcher Cox retired, but Brandon Graham stayed. And then they made the move to bring in the Jets, Bryce Huff. And there's another self-made player. This guy earned his contract. You hope now that he got his bag, he's still hungry. I personally hope he's not hungry when they come to SoFi, but someone to think about, something for the Rams to contend with when the Eagles come to town. The Saints, they swallowed the jalapeno. They signed Chase Young, and good for them. I'm really happy they signed Chase Young as he looks to revive his career, and they still have Carl Granderson. And then you get to the Bills, lost Leonard Floyd. They got Greg Rousseau, and you don't know what you're getting out of Von Miller anymore, except you're paying him a whole lot of dough, right? You're paying him a whole lot of dough. And yeah, that's where you're at. You know what? I didn't do the Jets, but the Jets have a pretty decent, how would I say that? The Jets do have a decent defense, not more than decent. Let me check that out here real quick, because I left my notes someplace else on the Jets. How's that for lack of professionalism here? The Jets, the Jets are they brought in Hassan Reddick. There you go. And he was the one I was thinking about. And also they've got the kid, Jermaine Johnson. That was the one from Florida State. who's drafted a couple years ago. He's about ready to come into his own. I knew it was something there. Sorry for being remiss on having that ready. But 49ers, 49ers, Cardinals, and Seahawks. The only team you have to worry about in the division getting to the quarterback is the 49ers. But again, there was that stretch, and I'd love to ask Niners Sickness podcast guy and Coach T-Bones about. They kind of went dark last year. Bosa, I think until the championship game, didn't have a sack after Christmas. And just curious what their thoughts are on that. All right, let's look at a couple of questions here real quick. Manuel Correa, I'm saying 26-27 when it comes back to SoFi. Are you talking about 26-27? Oh, the Super Bowl? Is that what you're saying? USA expat rookie of the year, Josh Carty. You know what? To the football god's ears, from your lips, USA expat, absolutely. Josh Carty. If Josh Carty is what he thinks he is, we think he is, we win in Detroit last year, right? We win in Detroit. There's confidence there to make those kicks. And that's a brutal one. Yeah, I hope he is. Bill, what do you think the Rams record is going to be after 5 games going into the bye? Oh, that's a great question, because we talked about that a lot last year. What are the Rams, who the Rams are facing? And here's again where people are going to accuse me of being fanboy, and I'm not fanboy. Obviously, week 1's against the Lions. I'll get back to that one. I think if you're serious, I don't think McVay's ever lost in Arizona. So you go to Arizona, you take care of business, right? You take care of business in Arizona. I think if we're going to get the 49ers this year in a regular season game, week 3 is the week to get it. The Rams had them last year. They lost that game, 30-21? Correct me if I'm wrong. But if you remember that game, it really didn't turn until Kyren Williams had that pass glance off his hands and get picked. The Rams were in that game, and the Rams could have won that game. I think they win it this year, so I can see them being 2 wins there. I think the Bears are going to be better, but I don't think by the time the Rams get to Chicago, they're going to be that team. So I think the Rams win there. And I think I see them 3 wins there, and then I can see them beating the Packers. I can finally, in SoFi, I see them beating the Packers. The one I'm not sure about. So that's 4 wins right there. And the one I'm not sure about, Bill, is the Lion game. And my feeling is this. Again, I think I talked about this about a month ago. My problem with the Lion game is I don't want it to be a revenge game. Hey, we got to get even for Tyler Higbee, or hey, we got to get even for that playoff loss. You know what? We lost. You're not going back and restructuring the outcome of the 2023 season. We lost in the playoffs there. And so I really don't want overspending of emotion in that game. And then they come up flat against the Cardinals, because you win that game in Detroit, then you get the Cardinals in week 2, and then you're looking at the 49ers in week 3. Do you take a dip and let a Cardinal team that beat a very good Cowboy team a year ago in Arizona, do you let them jump up and bite you? And I just don't want to be so caught up with whether we win or lose that Lions game. Now, can the Rams win that game? Absolutely, I think they can win that game. I think the Rams' offensive line is going to be stronger, more physical. I think the Rams are deeper in the running game. And if you give the Rams a running game, I don't care who you're playing against. One, it'll slow down Aiden Hutchinson. And we know they've got some rookie corners there in Detroit. They're going to have to take some licks before they learn how to play in the NFL. So I definitely can see the Rams winning this game. But again, the emotion of it, the Lions are going to be jacked up because Matthew Stafford's back in town and all that kind of stuff. I can see the Rams, being 4-1. I can see them being 4-1. You can pick your poison. Maybe drop the game to the Packers and then beating the Lions. And I could easily see them being 5-0. I do. I know that sounds awfully fanboy, but I can see them winning those games, and I can see them beating the Raiders the week after that. The Viking game on a short week, that gets a little tricky. I can see them beating Seattle. I think the Dolphin game, I could see them beating the Dolphins, but I could also see them losing to the Dolphins. I see them beating the Patriots. I think the Philly game is going to be tough. I think they need to beat the Saints. I think they'll beat the Bills, because I don't think this Bills team is as good. And then you're in a short week going to Frisco. And that one could be tough depending on where Frisco's at health-wise. And that's always for me going to be the question. Where is Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams? Where is that Frisco team going to be physically, health-wise, when the Rams get there in Week 15? So again, this is why with Mr. Burns, Tim Burns, who clicks on, he goes with the Rams 14-3. I think you can make an argument in every one of those games for the Rams to be in it, but we don't want to be Kool-Aid drinkers here. So I'm trying to say baseline 11-6, high end 13-4. But you look at that opening of the season, I can see the Rams winning all 5. I think the Lion game is going to be an emotional game, though. And part of that is you lose that game, I don't think it should affect the rest of your season. And if you get all emotional about it, it could have a carryover against the Cardinals in Week 2 because you might be looking to Week 3 against Frisco. That's how I feel about it. I kind of a long way around the horn there, Chief. Sorry about that, but that's just how I see that. USA Expat. Rams start 5-0 if they do not beat themselves. And there's the key thing. Did the Bengals beat the Rams last year, or did the Rams give that one away? Anyone remember Trey Hendrickson getting all those sacks off of Zachary Thomas and the Rams not moving Higbee or anybody over there to help Thomas out after Alaric Jackson went, right? The Rams should have won that game, right? The Rams should have beat Frisco at home. They should have won that game. There are a number of games the Rams just absolutely gave away. We should have beat Pittsburgh. We, the Royal we should have beat Pittsburgh. We didn't. You can talk about the bad call at the end. Should have beat Pittsburgh. The Philly game for me was up in the air. The only game, if we had a competent NFL quarterback, I think we would have won in Lambeau. But the only game the Rams to me were really just outmatched. And Stafford was down. We were on the road. Was the Dallas game, right? Stafford was banged up. The Dallas game, they came out and kicked our butts flat out. I'm not even arguing that. But you can make an argument in Baltimore. They should have won in Baltimore. There was so many cases there where the Rams, I think, gave games away that they should have won. And I think, again, young team, right? Young team. Now it's a little more experienced. Maybe they don't make those mistakes. And maybe Cooper Kupp becomes something of what he once was. And you couple that with Nakua, you couple that with Demarcus Robinson, you couple that with a more powerful running game and a upright Matthew Stafford, because you got 1,000 pounds across the interior line. The Rams are going to be a dangerous team, right? You just don't want to get too excited, but it's easy to be excited about this Rams team. Absolutely. So there we go. All right, let's look at this day in Ram history.
It was a stone groove, my man.
There we go. All right, let's look at this date. This date in Rams history was a hard one for me, not because Kellen Clemens was born on this date in 1983, but on this date in 1977, the Rams traded James Harris to the Chargers. They got a 4th-round pick in 1979 for him, and it turned out to be a guy named a defensive back named Derwin Tucker, who never played it down. I think he left in the middle of camp, and I think he became a teacher or something. He just decided pro football wasn't for him. And James Harris's career never really did anything. He backed up Dan Fouts. Fouts was a holdout, I think, for the first half of 77. And then he came back in, and that was pretty much it for Harris. And I think he hung around through about 80, maybe 81. But I was a huge James Harris fan. I love James Harris. In fact, I used to look in the mirror when I threw the football and try to emulate James Harris's style. Love James Harris, and the Dolphin game, right? The Dolphin game and stuff. But it just didn't happen, right? It just didn't happen. I think some of that's Rosenblum because Knox, according to everyone said, Knox was all in favor of James Harris. And yeah, I'm a huge James Harris fan. And on this day in 1977, we traded him. Now, tomorrow we're not on the air. It's a Saturday, but tomorrow is June the 8th. And June the 8th is a huge day in Ram history. Some really interesting things happened on June the 8th. On June 8th, 1966, the Rams sent defensive back Aaron Martin, who wore number 42. He was South Carolina State kid, I believe, but he played 2 years pretty much as a starter for the Rams. Had 4 picks, 2 touchdown returns, 2 pick sixes. They packaged him and former USC running back Willie Brown, not the Willie Brown that played for the Raiders. They packaged those 2 guys to Philly for defensive back Irv Cross, who a veteran guy there, played with the Rams from 66 through 68. And Irv Cross, that was a great move by the Rams in the George Allen era. And that trade happened on June the 6th. On June the 8th, 1966. 7 years later to the day, the Rams committed to another deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. On June the 8th, 1973, the trade that kind of set up the 70s and a large part of the 80s, the Rams sent Roman Gabriel by himself after that 1972 year where his shoulder, his arm, he had a collapsed lung, where everything was wrong with him, and he looked like he was washed. The Rams sent Roman Gabriel alone to the Philadelphia Eagles for Harold Jackson, touchdown Tony Baker, the number 11th pick in the 1974 draft, returned in the 11th pick, John Cappelletti, another first-round pick in 1975 named Dennis Hara, and a third-round pick in 1975 named Dan Nugent, who never played for the Rams, but a year later was packaged for a second and third-round pick to the Washington Redskins, and the Rams used that second-round pick in 1980 to draft Irv Pankey, who was the starting left tackle throughout the decade of the 80s, right? You think of Jackie Slater. Jackie Slater was a right tackle. Irv Pankey from Penn State was the left tackle. Also, another thing to know about that trade was Harold Jackson caught 40 passes in 1973. 13 of them were for touchdowns, 4 against the Cowboys. And touchdown Tony Baker was the Rams' short yardage specialist. He scored 7 touchdowns. So Jackson and Baker combined to score 20 touchdowns for the Rams in 1973. You move ahead, 3 years later, 1976, June 8th, Joe Schiavelli retires. Now, the Rams were all set there because you still had Tom Mack, and now you were going to plug in Dennis Hara at right guard. But Joe Schiavelli had been there for 15 seasons. Him and Charlie Cowan, old guards going back to the 60s, old guard in terms of old Ram players. Cowan played some guard, but he was mostly a tackle. But Schiavelli retired, right? Wow. And Schiavelli, number 71, I think he played guard at less than 250 pounds. Different world. Now, June 8th, 11 years later, in 1987, I think we recently talked about this one. On June 8th, 1987, that would be 37 years ago tomorrow, the Rams sent former first-round running back Barry Redden to the San Diego Chargers for Buford McGee and a second-round pick in 1988 and a conditional pick. Now, the conditional pick doesn't matter. That second-round pick was pick number 46, and it was Flipper Anderson. There you go. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. All right. And then another good day in Ram history happened on June 8th. They traded first-round bust defensive tackle Jimmy Kennedy to the Denver Broncos for a conditional pick. Yeah. Born on June 8th, 1939, former Ram flanker wide receiver Bernie Casey, what a lot of you guys have talked about before, and former Ram left guard during the greatest show on turf air. We should spend some more time talking about him. Although can't do it today, is Tom Newton out of Western Michigan, who was one of the key Ram offensive linemen in that greatest show on turf era. All right. And then on June 9th, 1999, that's this Sunday, is the anniversary of the Rams releasing safety Toby Wright, who had paired with Keith Lyle for about 5 years there. After leaving Los Angeles, they were kind of that solid group of safeties, pair of safeties for the Rams. And then Toby Wright, apparently the Rams felt he ran out of gas. They cut him in 1999, so he missed that championship run. And then born in 1971, undrafted free agent out of Washington. I believe he was undrafted. Someone correct me. Is DeMarco Farr, now hosting Ram stuff there. DeMarco Farr turns 53 on Sunday. So good for DeMarco Farr. All right. I think we got all that in there. And I think we're good.
It was a stone groove, my man.
It was a stone groove to talk about that. Thank you so much. All right, DHP. Hey, Joe, what activities is there to do at training camp? I've never been to training camp, and I don't want to bore my family. Well, last year I was there. This was in Irvine. Uh, um, I saw Mr. Powers there. Tim Powers usually clicks on, but they have like a little small field for the kids to run on. Of course, they got cornhole. They had all kinds of food trucks, and so they had some different activities back behind the bleachers. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like at LMU at Loyola Marymount. So I don't know. My feeling would be, I think the tickets, even at Irvine, you just had to get them. They're free. You go one day yourself, and then you kind of see the lay of the land, and then you bring your kids back. What I liked about it was a very kickback environment. There was no rowdiness. There was not the kind of stuff that you see far too often in these NFL stadiums these days. So if it's the Rams, again, fanboy drinking the Kool-Aid, right? I'm always drinking the Kool-Aid for the Rams. Again, in this iteration of the Rams, if it's the Rams, they're probably going to do it right. So, but that's what I saw. There was like a field for the kids to throw footballs, these little mini footballs, and they had cornhole, and they had other things that they can do, and such. And so I liked it because it changed my opinion of Demarcus Robinson. It changed my opinion of Tyler Johnson. And even Stetson Bennett. Of course, that was before the preseason games. His first preseason game, he wasn't bad, but it changed my opinion. I was really upset with the Stetson Bennett pick and the move up to get him. I was a Clayton Tune guy. What do I know? And so, but I saw him make the throws, and it's like, wow. And we also noticed Steve Avila. You could tell right away that guy's an NFL. There was never a doubt about Avila. You see him out there, and it's like, dang, that dude can play. That dude can play. And so, yeah, I encourage people, if you get a chance to go, that's what they had last year. I don't know what they're going to have this year because it's a different venue. Thanks, DHP. Richard Ramos, do you remember the year when Deion Sanders played the Rams? I believe it was the opening kickoff, and he ran a touchdown back on us. Those were some dark years, right? Those last years in Anaheim, right? Or was that 89? Was that 89? I don't remember it specifically. I have no doubt it happened. But I don't remember. There was a neat poll on Twitter, Twix, whatever, the other day that was talking about who would you take in their prime? Would you take Deion, Rod Woodson, or Charles Woodson? And I took Rod Woodson because he flexed to safety and was all pro there, and he was a returner, had great speed. I like Deion, but I went with Rod Woodson. I know Charles Woodson also did that too, but I think Rod Woodson was just a little bit better. Can I get a yeah for Rod Woodson? There we go. USA Expat. When those old great offensive line retired, we always had studs ready and eager to step in and carry the torch. Absolutely, USA Expat. Absolutely. I did a feature on that on my website a couple of years ago, and I usually repost it. But you talk about the Rams once about 65, somewhere in there. Joe Cariola was there. You had Tom Mack. You had Ken Iman. Charlie Cowan was the right tackle. I think Cariola was the left tackle. And then you had Shabelli and Mack. And then I think it was and Cariola was there. Then they made the move and they brought in Bob Brown. Bob Brown was a right tackle, so Cowan moved to left tackle. Shabelli was at right guard, and then you had Ken Iman, and then left guard was Tom Mack, and it stayed that way. Then you got after the 70 season, Brown was sent to the Raiders. You had Harry Shue come in, and 71-72, the right tackle was kind of Harry Shue. Steve Ramirez, sports writer, he pointed this out to me. Tommy Prothero had some funky thoughts there in terms of how he used the offensive line and moved guys around. But theoretically, Harry Shue would have been the right tackle. And then in 73, the Rams had made the move in 72 to bring in John Williams because he had played for the Colts. And then in 73, Williams locked up right tackle through 1978. He got hurt in 79, and then Slater took that spot. But you had Tom Mack at left guard through 78, and then you had Dennis Hara at right guard taking over for Shabelli. Kent Hill, who was a first-round pick, eventually became the guy at left guard, and then at left tackle you had Doug France, and then after France it became Doug Irv Pankey, and the Rams had that all the way through. And remember, they got clicks out of Bill Bain. You went from Ken Iman to Rick Saul to Doug Smith. You brought in Bill Bain. If you remember, you had Kent Hill. You brought in Tom Newberry. The Rams just always had a great offensive line. You're absolutely, yeah. Rick Saul, right? Rick Saul. You're saying that right there, USA Expat. Really a guy lost to history, right? Unfortunately, again, 6 consecutive Pro Bowls. Or, we sneak in a Super Bowl in there, a couple of Super Bowls, maybe a Super Bowl win. Maybe they're talking about him, maybe not at Mike Webster level, but maybe they're talking about him a little more favorably when you talk about, career and flowers at the end of a career. So let me see if there's anything I missed here, guys, as we are coming up to we are at the 50-minute mark. I don't know if there's anything I missed. I think I got it all in. All right. So, okay, guys, if you don't have any other questions, we are at the 50-minute mark. Thank you for joining us on RamView. Hoping to work some new things out here pretty soon. Jim Everett, the great, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing that. Try to cover a whole bunch of stuff. I just, even when things are slow, I don't like it when people say things are slow and stuff. And so there's always something to talk about. Jim Everett, the great, do a show with Ramley Sports. I don't know them. I'd be happy. A couple of people have spoken to me about coming on their show and talking to them. I don't sense myself ever doing a partnership, maybe once a week with somebody on their show or something. I could drop in. A couple of people have, like I said, spoken to me about that. But I like this show because this way it's you and me talking, and that I feel is where we do best. But Jim Everett, the great, USA Expat, Rich Ramos, DHP, Bill, Manny Correa, Steve Ramirez, Brian B, Gilbert Reese, Brian B from the Philippines. I got Costa Rica, the Philippines, Denmark. Oh my gosh. All right. Have a great night, guys. Take care. I don't see Willie Bowen today. Remember Willie Bowen? If you think about it, say a prayer for Willie Bowen and his family. Willie shared with us on Wednesday that his niece died in a car accident. And I know this is not that forum, but he shared it with us. And my church kept you in prayer, Willie. And we'll continue to just think the best for you. All right, guys. God bless. Take care. And we will see you soon.